this would be Tuesday, February 18th. We're going to get into the story of Theseus. We have a quiz coming up tomorrow. Hand out the homework today. Homework comes due on Friday. Information up there. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. Alright. The quick, speedy recounting of the information from last week on the pink story. With the two things in the sun, we have the two mountains. Who is it that drives the chariot that is the sun? Apollo. But Apollo eventually retires. And who takes over? Helios steps in. Another god. Well, the sun was thought to go from one mountain in the east across the sky to a mountain over there in the west. Once he landed over here, he couldn't make camp. He would then have to travel down, get into a boat, travel across this sea in the middle of the world to start the whole thing over again. What's the sea in the middle of the world called? Mediterranean Sea. Why can't he just sleep here at night and then go back the other direction the next day?
Because the night's not a comfortable spot, and the sun doesn't work that way. It goes east to west.
Because the sun always has to go east to west, and that's when they came up with this story about the idea of it going down, riding across. Well, the other thing I wanted to hit from the story of Phaethon, besides from the joy of the kid losing control and getting killed by Zeus, was that when he loses control of the sun chariot and it goes down and bounces off the earth, according to the story, it creates something in Africa when it bounces off the ground. What does it make?
Continents.
The desert. And that's how the Greeks explained the Sahara Desert. When the sun chariot, when it was lost control by Phaethon, hit the ground, came back up, burnt everything out there, thus creating the desert. It's also, according to the Greeks, how we have people with darker skin. Because when the sun chariot hit the ground, burned everybody, came back up, and that's how they explained the farther you get from that area, the farther you got from the desert, the less dark your skin was. That was their thinking. They had to find some way to explain it. So that's what they went for. Then our other story we'll get to, the story of Arachne. To give you the speedy version of this one as best I can, it's going to deal with a girl by the name of Arachne who was really good at weaving, which doesn't sound like much, but it was a way of doing artwork back then. Weaving, if you've been to Conner Prairie, they have some of the abilities, these things called looms, which you'll see like ladies sitting out there doing, and you sort of, I can make clothing with it. It has like this little piece that goes back and forth, and you put thread through it, and it goes shuck it back and forth. You can also use it to create these things called tapestries. And a tapestry is it's a painting made out of thread. Like my big Spider-Man thing, how it's a giant picture, but what they would do is they would have different pieces of thread, they would weave back and forth, and it would create this big picture. It was considered this great art form at the time. Arachne was crazy good at doing this. It was the best person that ever existed. People would show up just to watch her make all of these wonderful tapestries. She'd sit out in the open with her loom and like, loom, 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 loom. People would come around and be like chanting and cheering. They'd sell popcorn and drinks and stuff like that. It was all kinds of fun. It was as exciting as it got back then. People eventually began to compliment her. They would say things along the lines of, hey, you're really good at that. Were you trained by the gods? Well, there was a god of weaving. And the god of weaving was? Athena. Nicely done. She was also the god of war, the god of wisdom, and the god of weaving. The three W's. War, wisdom, and weaving. Well, being one of the gods of weaving, they would ask Arachne, were you trained by Athena herself? Because that's the only way you can get that good. Arachne took it as an insult. She was like, what? No, I'm so much better than her. I trained her, if anything. That girl's nuts. And she would badmouth the gods, saying there's no way the gods could teach her because she was better than them. Well, the other people were like, whoa, are you sure? That's a pretty big statement. She's like, yeah, because if the gods were better than me and they said I was wrong, they would show up here and show it to me. Huh? Any gods? Any gods? That's what I thought. Well, eventually these rumors get back up to Athena on Mount Olympus. And people up there are like, hey, did you hear about this girl Arachne? She's really good at weaving. And Athena's like, no, I hadn't heard about that. Like, yeah, apparently she's better than you. Athena's like, what was that now? Like, yeah, she's telling everyone that she taught you how to weave because she's better than you. Athena's like, oh, no, she didn't. Like, oh, yes, she did. And so Athena decides she's going to go down and confront Arachne. So what Athena does is she takes the form of an old woman, because apparently that was their favorite shape to take when they came down to Earth. She went down into old woman form and then found the town where Arachne was. And Athena hobbles up to her. She sees Arachne out after her loom going shaka, 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 shaka. Crowd of people all around cheering her on. Weave, weave, weave. She's going back and forth like that. When Athena comes up with her old lady form, is like, oh, you're really good at that. Arachne's like, thanks, old lady. She's like, were you taught by the gods to get that good? And Arachne's like, no. She's like, the gods could never teach me because I'm better than them. Because if anyone, I taught them. And Athena goes, are you sure that's what you want to say? And Arachne's like, yeah, because if that wasn't true, a god would show up and prove me wrong. So far, no gods are here, so obviously I'm better than them. And Athena goes, that's what you think, huh? Arachne goes, yes. So Athena goes, fine. Drops her cane, stands up, and the old ladiness just melts away. Fades right away. Now, doesn't go into the full, she's going to kill her. She just goes up into the, I'm awfully beautiful, and goes right into the full beauty thing. All the humans are like, oh, snap! And they realize that this is a god in their presence. Athena stands up straight and says, Arachne, I am Athena, goddess of weaving. Are you sure you are better than me? Arachne looks over at her friends who are all right there, and her friend's like, oh, you guys showed up, dang! And they start making fun of her, like pointing at her, like, whoa, you got whoop! Well, Arachne doesn't want to be embarrassed in front of her friends, and so she decides that she's going to stand up to the god. She's like, yeah, I'm better than you. You're just like a god, like immortal and stuff. Like, I'm good at this, yo. And so she trash talks back to Athena. And Athena's like, you really want to go there? And Arachne's like, yes, I do. I can prove it and I can back it up. So Athena declares that they are going to have a contest to see who is better. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, oh, it's a weave-off! And they all start chanting, weave-off, weave-off! And they have a second big loom brought in. And they throw down this second loom. And they sit like little chairs back to back. They roll out their shoulders. They look like little trainers come in there and like start like rubbing their shoulders and stuff like that, whipping little towels. And like, all right, you ready to go? Like, I'm ready to go. Like, all right, you're gonna have 1 hour to weave the best picture you can. Whoever picture comes out the best wins. And like, all right, let's have a clean weave. Weave! And they go running over and they sit down. Shuck a weave, shuck a weave, shuck a weave. And they're going as fast as they can. Well, Athena still likes humans. She's a nice person. The gods, she's one of the nicer ones. So in her tapestry, her giant picture, she creates a picture of the gods doing good things to help out the humans. Zeus giving sacrifices to the humans. I mean, sacrifice as in letting them have the sacrifices. Prometheus coming down to help the humans. Prometheus giving fire to the humans. Zeus coming down and taking a wife or something like that. So all these things of the gods coming down and being friendly to the humans in one way or another. Not friendly, but nice to the humans in one way or another. Arachne, a little angry at the whole Athena thing, Arachne decides to go the other way with her picture. And instead of showing the gods being nice, she decides to show the gods being evil. And she shows all the bad things the gods have done. She shows pictures of Uranus burying his children. A picture of Kronos overthrowing his father. Kronos swallowing his own children. Zeus punishing Prometheus. Zeus going out and being friendly with women. Hera torturing women. And so all of these evil pictures are thrown in the side that Athena does. Well, as Arachne's sitting there doing her thing, she's like peeking over at Athena's, like shuck-a-weave, 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 peek, shuck-a-weeve, peek. What's this? Shuck-a-weave, peek. She is looking over there and sees, as she gets further into it, two things. One, Arachne's weaving is incredibly insulting to the gods. It makes them look horrible and mean. And two, Arachne's pictures are better than Athena's. She really is better. And all of a sudden, Athena does what scientists like to call snapping and going bonkers. She just goes, rah! And picks up the loom, reaches over, and just smacks it across her arena and knocks her clean out of her chair. Arachne's like, and falls over to the side. Athena walks over, picks up this gigantic loom, and just starts beating her with it while yelling at her, how dare you make fun of the gods, you horrible. And Arachne's like, there's like twitching, her arm goes, and meanwhile the whole audience is like, oh, go! Like, smack. Well, as Athena's sitting there beating her, she sort of slows down. She's like, smack. Maybe I shouldn't be smack beating this poor girl. Smack with the loom. Smack. Okay. So she puts the loom over the side, and Arachne's like, not quite dead, but definitely in a lot of pain. Athena feels bad. She calms herself. She turns to the crowd. She's like, hey, sorry about that. kind of snapped. Didn't mean to beat the girl. Forgive. So she's talking to the crowd, trying to apologize. Arachne manages to stand up, sees her friends, and her friends like, oh, dang, you got beat. And they're like looking at her, and she feels all bad. So Arachne can't take being made fun of by her friends and the fact she just got whooped by a god. So in a state of depression, she goes over to the little mangled loom, rips off the string that's on there, the yarn, wraps it around a tree limb, takes it, throws it over a tree limb, pulls it down, wraps it around her own throat, and hangs herself while Athena's talking. And of course, the crowd's like, they're pointing behind her. She's like, I know, I made a poor choice, settle down. It's like, why do you keep pointing at me? I feel like, what do you like? Oh, God! She turns around and she's like Arachne dangling. She's like, oh, Zeus! And goes over there and confronts Arachne while Arachne's hanging in the tree. And Athena feels bad. She's like, all right, apparently whooping you with a loom might have been a step in the wrong direction. But you were a little too sassy. So because of that, here's what we're going to end up doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you live. And she goes ahead and releases Arachne from the tree. But she goes, you were disrespectful to the gods. Because you are disrespectful to the gods, I cannot let you continue to live in the way you have been. So I'm going to curse you. I'm going to curse you and all of your descendants, meaning all of your children. You will forever be cursed in the thing that you love the most, but you will no longer be in human form when you do it. So she ends up turning Arachne into a spider. And that's how the first spider was made. And so that's when she beats her, smack, with a loom. And from there, she goes, you shall be a spider. And thus, Arachne becomes the first spider. That's why she's still allowed, she's still allowed to weave, but no longer in human form. And that was the story for Arachne and Athena. Now to our story for today. All of her descendants are spiders.
Oh, that's the spiders.
Well, they're out of luck. I don't think they're really given a choice on that one. Alright. The story of Theseus. This is the green sheet that you picked up. I'll try to get as far to the story as I can to help you out. On Theseus' story, this is going to go back to Zeus again. Zeus, once again, finds himself a human girl that he wants to be friendly with, a girl by the name of Europa. But the problem is, once again, Hera has a watchful eye on him, and he doesn't want to get caught. So he changes form into a bull, a humongous white bull with gold horns and big red eyes, like an albino bull. And he takes this bull form, not bowl, but bull, hence the pictures of a bull, this bull form, and goes and finds Europa. And he's like, hey, Europa, it's me, Zeus. She's like, why are you in bull form? He's like, that way Hera can't find out that is me. Jump on my back. We're going to go find a place to hide. She's like, okie dokie. And she jumps on his back and grabs his horn. And he takes off flying into the air, because that's not suspicious at all. A giant flying bull. He's up into the air, and she's like flying, grabbing onto the horn, like, pew, 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 and flying and having a good time. They end up going out over the Mediterranean Sea until they can find an island out there. And they find an island called Crete, C-R-E-T-E. Land on this island of Crete. He feels they're safe from Hera's view. They become friendly, and he leaves her there. Zeus is the nicest guy. And so he leaves, he's like, hey, see you later, and takes off. She gives birth on Crete to a baby by the name of Minos, M-I-N-O-S, baby Minos. Minos is half god, because his father is Zeus. So he grows up big and strong. Because he grows up big and strong, he ends up becoming king of this place called Crete, this island. And once he becomes king of the island nation of Crete, he decides that now that he's king, he doesn't have to sacrifice Poseidon like all the previous kings did. The reason being, his father Zeus. Poseidon disagrees and says, regardless, you should still sacrifice to me. Why does Poseidon say he has to sacrifice?
Because he's on his kingdom.
Yeah, he's on an island. He's like, even if I can't get to you on land, did you ever want to have a boat leave the island? Yeah, that's my area. So because of that, they come to an agreement. Poseidon goes, listen, I need to be able to brag to my friends. In order for that to work, you're going to have to sacrifice me. But I understand that because your father is my brother, that you're a little reluctant. So here's what I'll do. I'll give you a gift, and then you just sacrifice it right back to me. And Minos goes, well, what do you mean? Poseidon goes, here's what I'll do. I'm going to give you a giant white bull. And out of the water comes this humongous white bull. It's the size of like an entire bus. big, white, big gold horns, red eyes, owl albino, super friendly, comes stomping up out of the ocean. Stomp, 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 stomp. He goes, listen, I'll give you the bull. All you have to do, sacrifice it when the moon is full, give it back to me. I can brag to my friends, no skin off your back, we're even deal, everything's good. How's that sound? Mine's like, that's easy, not a problem, done deal. He goes, you bring me the bull, we'll see you in a month. The bull comes up. Bull, super friendly. Everyone on the island falls in love with it. It just walks around like purring, bull, bull, and like rubbing up against houses and knocking them over. It's like and kids would go up and ride on his horns, like you could grab his horns, like wee, wee. And the kids would grab onto the tail and they'd take a little elevator ride. Anyway, people loved the bull, got along with it. Well, Minos had a wife, Queen Pasiphae. Queen Pasiphae also fell in love with the bull. She named it Freddie, and she's like, I love Freddie the bull, he's awesome. And she would go out there and just have like a little lawn chair, and she'd sit there and watch the bull and eat popcorn and stuff like that. Thought the bull was the coolest thing in the world. Well, a month goes by, and it's time to sacrifice because the full moon is coming. Pasiphae doesn't want to lose the bull. She's like, that bull is so awesome and friendly, and everyone loves him. How about we don't sacrifice the bull? King Minos is like, I don't think that's the way it works. He gave us the bull just so we could sacrifice it back to him. So, and that means we're going to have to, we're going to have to sacrifice it back. She starts throwing a fit, stomping her, be like, I love the bull, he loved me, he loved and does like a full pout thing. He's like, whoa! Did not expect that. He's like, alright, listen, I'll find something to do. Just stop pounding. And so he goes and talks to his wife, and he's like, listen, I can't sacrifice the bull because my wife is in full pout mode, and that really scared me. So what can we do instead? So the wise men come up with an idea. Like, here's what we're going to do. Take the bull, we're going to put it in a barn, hide it away. He goes, how's that helping? No. And then we're going to go get another bull, just a normal one. We're going to paint it white, paint the horns gold, poke it in the eyes so they're nice and pink, and then we'll sacrifice that one. He's like, all right, that could work, but what about the fact that the bull he gave me is this big, and the bull I'm going to use is this big? I think Poseidon's going to notice the difference. They go, here's what you do. You walk out on your knees. We'll put fake shoes on the front of your knees and put a robe on you, and you just keep talking about how big the bull is, and it'll look gigantic. He's like, oh, genius, we'll do that. All right. So they go ahead and set it up. They put Freddie, the giant happy bull, into a big barn, and then from there they go ahead and take this other bull, paint it all white, paint the horns all gold, and then Minos puts on like a little robe and has like on his knees, little shoes on the front of it. He walks out there. There's such a gigantic bull, and he comes out there with this big knife. He says, we're going to sacrifice this humongous, really, really big bull to Poseidon. Because this is definitely a giant, giant bull. That's very big. Did you get the big part? He's saying that. They're like, yeah, we got you. He holds out that, and he stabs the bull, and then sacrifices it up to Poseidon. Poseidon comes up out of the ocean. He's like, hey, people of Crete, I appreciate everything you've done. This sacrifice means a lot. What is that? And they're like, what? What's what? He's like, that thing right there. He's like, that's the bull. He's like, no, it's not. He's like, that's just a normal bull. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the one you gave us. I'm like, it's tiny. I'm like, no, it's really big. I'm like, you're on your knees. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, that's my bull over there. And the bull puts his head, like looks at the bar. I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know what you're talking. Oh. Well, Poseidon's not happy about being lied to. He's like, so you thought you could trick me? And Minos was like, my father Zeus? He's like, that's fascinating. Here's what we're going to do for you. One, you know the bull you love. They're like, uh-huh. Now, he's crazy. The bull goes, and his eyes will turn bright red, and just start stabbing people. And just picking him up like on the little shish kebab on the horn and starts running around the island. The crazed bull of Crete will come back on Thursday because that's one of Hercules' labors. He has to fight this big bull and kill it. So the bull just starts running around the island just stabbing people everywhere. Minos is like, oh, you really got me good at that one. That was bad. Poseidon's like, not done. Your wife is also pregnant. Minos is like, she is? He's like, she is. And now, the baby's cursed. He's like, no. He goes, because you love the bull so much and refused to give it to me, I've now made your baby half man, half bull. And so he turns the baby into the very first Minotaur. Minnow, M-I-N-O, because who is the Minotaur's father? Minos. And so you have King Minos becomes the Minotaur. It is bottom half man, the head of a bull. Now, with this Minotaur, not only is it half man, half bull, but of course, to make things fun, it only eats one thing, and that would be humans, because that makes every story better. Now, they don't find out until after the baby's born, and the baby like, however the baby makes the sound, and the little nurse has it. She's like, it's so adorable and furry. And while she's petting it, all of a sudden, her hands off, it's like bleeding everywhere. It's like, she falls down. And the baby goes, she's like, no, it's like a zombie thing. And they realize that it goes through and loses points for packing up all this stuff, even though we've covered this so many times. The kids keep making points. They realized that this was a human-eating monster baby bull thing. And so because of that, well, one, he'd like to kill it, but he can't for two reasons. One, is his son, and killing it would just be wrong. Two, well, who is the Minotaur's grandfather? Zeus. So it's 1/4 god, so it's super strong. So they do the next best thing. They throw the baby in the basement. They just take the baby and they throw it down there. The problem is, whenever the baby gets hungry, it would go over and pound on the wall. And it was so strong, the entire palace would shake. And there we get to hurry!